What's up, guys? Now, if you guys may have read in the title, this is a video about the murder of my coach, Hugo Sergio Lara Valle. Rest in peace. This is his full name. This happened on May 25th, 2006. So you guys can look up the article to fact check me. On top of this, you guys can check out my Facebook. It's Arturo Jan Van Bakker, okay, or Van Baker. Arturo Jan Van Baker. Here I have many pictures of me with my coach and his son and everything else, so you guys can fact check again that I was his illegitimate son and that I was his best student and instructor by far. This is not saying this with ego. These are just facts, guys. You guys can ask his own kids if this is true or not. Now, let's get into this video. Okay, like I was saying, guys, this is the video of my coach's murder. Now, I'm going to start this video. I'm going to back it up to when I was a kid. I'm going to start from when I was 4 or 5 years of age. Hugo Sergio Lara Valle was the first person that motivated me to do martial arts. His son, Hugo Lara, named after him. Just like myself, I'm named after my father. He was my first best friend and still is my best friend till this day. We were in kindergarten together. We were in first grade together. And one day I was at his house and we didn't know what movie to watch. So his dad put on Enter the Dragon and I was sold. Ever since then, I couldn't get martial arts out of my head. Okay, so he was the first one to install that seed in me of martial arts. His son, on the other hand, also is a black belt and all that, but he's not like obsessed martial artist like myself. He is a doctor. No offense to him, he's overweight. He doesn't really like training. He's not really into what I'm into. You know what I'm saying? My coach was a police officer. He was instructor at the police academy for the cadets, and he was also a state police agent, bodyguard for the chief of police and his daughters of the division of the Policía Judicial, which later became La Policía Ministerial. So, yeah, he was a cop. This is the reason why he was murdered. Now, when I was a kid, I used to hang out all the time at Hugo's house. Me at his house or him at my house. And I'm going to tell you guys a funny story of something that happened when we were kids. I was used to being around guns because, you know, my dad was in the army. My dad's friends were all generals in the army, in the Air Force. So I was always around guns. I was pretty used to that. And Hugo had a clip laying around with some bullets. No gun, just the bullets. So since I had already played a lot with guns, and every time someone hands you a gun, they take out the bullets and the clip, I was very curious about the clip and the bullets themselves. So me, Hugo, and Hugo's sister, and my little brother, it was my idea, of course. I grabbed a bullet and put it on this barbecue thing, and I lit it on fire, and I was waiting for the bullet to explode. Luckily, Huguito's mom came and got us. It was a very stupid thing, but, you know, guys, I was like 6 years old, you know? But, I mean, I was at his house all the time since I was a kid. I lost touch with Huguito and Hugo after I left Mexico, after my parents got divorced, you know? When I was like 8, 9, I left Mexico, went to Holland. Then after Holland, I was 1 year in Mexico with my father, went to military school actually in Acapulco. I was in military school for 1 year. And then we went to LA with my mother. My mother decided to move to LA. So I lost touch with them throughout this whole time, okay? But at some point after I was second degree black belt, I already competed. I was already instructed at the instructor course in America. I was already at the time the best in JK Taekwondo in Burbank, California under Grandmaster Jinky Lim. And when I came back, I was looking for a place to train, and coincidentally, me and my dad ran into a school where my coach was teaching. After he was killed, I ended up taking the classes over there, and I ended up giving a private lessons to Arnold Milchan, Hollywood producer Arnold Milchan. If you guys haven't seen that video, click on the link above. The whole story about teaching Arnold Milchan. Fight Club producer, Pretty Woman producer, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He owns Regency. He was an Israeli spy. He was my student, my best private student. And you guys can watch that link above that I just put up there for you guys to watch if you guys want to watch that video. So I ran into him there, and you know, right away I remembered him. I bowed to him. He didn't even know who I was at that moment. He recognized my dad, and then it clicked. And I told him, hey, I'm a Taekwondo second degree black belt. I want to train, blah, blah, blah. You know, he was like very whatever-ish about it. The next day I went to the black belt class training, and he was very impressed by my kicking skills. Like after that, me and him, we were like this after this. We were like this after that. We were just inseparable. I used to help him teach the cadets at the police academy. I was on TV with him doing demonstrations to promote the school. I fought MMA tournaments for him. I used to help him teach people at the dojo as well. I used to cover his lessons. I mean, the list goes on and on. You name it. I was always with him. We were inseparable. And a lot of the other black belts therefore also got jealous. I mean, like, I always wanted an instructor that I was his favorite student, his best student, like that father son relationship. I always wanted that, and I never had it before. Like, when I had my instructor here from something in Holland, I mean, he didn't even remember me anymore when I came back the first time, until I told him a few things, mentioned my grandpa. Then he remembered that he had taught my grandpa's grandson, which was myself. But at first he didn't even remember me, and I wasn't his favorite one in the class, which always hurt me because I was always the one doing my very best to get that status. And when I moved to the States, it wasn't any different. Master Jinky Lim, his son was always his favorite student. If I would spar his son, he'd coach him so he could beat me. And it's like Master Lim, I was never his favorite student, even though I was his best student. He always used me to show off, as his people used to call me his show off doll, or his show off monkey, like his show toy. These were nicknames that I used to get, because he got a lot of students by having me show off, having me do demonstration, having me teach, having me do the stretching, having me demonstrate the kicks, having me teach the kicking, having me teach the sparring. Like, I was always doing these parts, because I was the best one at it. But still, I was not Master Lim's favorite student. His son was always his favorite student, So when I went to Mexico, and now all of a sudden, I am, I mean, the love I had for Hugo goes deep, guys. He was like my dad, for real. He was a person I started admiring. He was a fearless individual, guys. Fearless. So, I start training in Acapulco, and I started being around him all the time. I went back and forth to LA a few times, went back and forth. And basically, with all those back and forths, in 2006, in May 2006, beginning early of May, I got back to Mexico. Keep in mind, he was still the 25th, so I would only have 3 weeks to hang out with him, and which, of course, I did. As soon as I got to Mexico, I called him. I'm like, hey, I'm back. And he's like, well, what are your plans? Are you staying here? I'm like, I'm staying here now. And he's like, well, when you come to Acapulco, you can talk to me, and we'll talk about getting you set up with a dojo somewhere so you can start teaching. And little did he know, this was not my plan. My plan was to join the police force with him. That was my plan. I wanted to be like him. And when I had this meeting with him, I met up with him at the local police station, okay? But let me rewind, okay? When I got to Acapulco, first, I went and stayed at a apartment building, luxury apartment building, actually, villas, called Villa Suarez. And I was staying here, and when I got there, I didn't know the drug war had already started. I had no idea. Like, when I was in LA when everything started. The first decapitation case happened not many months before that, in January. So the guy taking care of the place told me, hey, you want to join the police? You are nuts, man. You don't know what's going on here. 5-6 cops were murdered. They got into a gunfight with El Chapo's people. One of the cops killed El Chapo's nephew, and then they all got kidnapped at their homes, decapitated. They placed their heads by U-Haul, and it's crazy right now. You don't want to be a cop right now. So I'm thinking, holy F, what is going on, So I called my coach. He told me to meet him the next morning, early before roll call, at the undercover Judicial State Police Agency Bureau or police department. So you couldn't even tell it was a police department there. There was like a restaurant outside on the street, and then you have to go in the door past that restaurant and go inside. And once you go inside, you go up some stairs, and there's like an office upstairs. You would not even tell it's a police thing because there's no signs of this out there. So when I got there, I was waiting for him by the restaurant because he told me to meet him there. So I'm sitting there waiting. I got there relatively on time. And keep in mind, guys, I'm white and I'm wearing an Abercrombie shirt. At the time, La Barbie was also I was wearing an Abercrombie shirt, and at the time, La Barbie was also in town, and he had people that were white working for him. So as I'm sitting out there, I see some few patrol cars roll up, not undercover cars, not patrol cars, not marked cars, but undercover cars. These guys get out with their guns on the side, some in their belt, some Mexican carrying, some in their pocket. They get out, but I noticed that they were paranoid by my presence. I was the only one sitting there outside on these chairs and staring, just standing there against the wall, staring, looking at them. They were thinking, who the hell is this guy? They went upstairs. I look at the time and I notice, you know what? It's already like 8:20, 8:30. Coach is still not there. So I'm thinking maybe I missed him. Maybe he's inside. So I get up and I go inside the police department. And his compadre was there, the coach, my coach's compadre, the chief of police that was murdered. He was there. And inside his office, and which, by the way, he helped me once get my money back. And the first time I was ever kidnapped, it was actually an illegitimate arrest by the judicial police. If you guys want to see that video, click above here. But I already knew him. We kind of had that little history with each other. Anyways, he was also a Taekwondo black belt, best friends with my coach. My coach used to be one of his tasks was to take his daughters to school every day, which my coach had just done. He had just came back from dropping off his daughters at school. And when I go inside, I see all these cops sitting there and a secretary. So there's all these cops and a secretary and a bunch of seats where no one's sitting. That's for the general public to sit. Everybody else is standing, doing their thing. There's a door there for the office of the chief of police of that particular department. So when I went in there, I just sat down. I didn't say much. When I went out, everybody's looking at me. I'm sitting there for about 2-3 minutes. They start talking to each other, looking at me like, who is this guy? Then one walked up. It's like, excuse me, can we help you? Who are you? I was like, oh, I'm just waiting for Coach Lara, Profe Lara. And he's like, oh, okay. Then they didn't trip anymore. But at that point, I hear the secretary running everyone's number, the numbers of their badge numbers and what gun they're carrying. So I start hearing everybody's name and the gun they're carrying. Moises Montero, which is El Coreano, he was there. He was basically, he started his own cartel later. He was with my coach the day he got killed. He was there. And then I hear my coach's name, Hugo Sergio Lara Valle, Glock 21, blah, 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 blah. And I start thinking, okay, he's one of the active agents now. I start thinking, damn, okay. And at that moment, I hear him knock the window behind me, because behind me there was like a window and the stairs were right here. Stairs go up sideways like that. There's a window behind me. So I hear a knock on the window. I look back and he's like, come on, let's go. Now, I start walking outside towards him. Oh, before I forget, the chief of police did come out at some point just to give some paperwork to one of the agents. And the look in his eyes, guys, I could feel the fear, adrenaline, death just coming out of him. I don't know. It was this intense feeling I felt. The whole department had been threatened, guys. Keep that in mind. They were all under threat by El Chapo. And then I basically walk out. My coach always had a fanny pack on him. Always. His gun in a fanny pack, he'd never show his gun. This day, the first thing I noticed when I'm walking upstairs is his fanny pack is not on him. He was walking, and basically he had his gun in here and the side pocket sideways like this. So the handle would come out like this and in there like that. So as I'm walking behind him, I see the Glock sticking out the back of his pants. And I'm thinking, damn, that's just got real. What surprised me the most, guys, was how chill and happy he was about it. You would think he was happy and chill. He was happier than I'd ever seen him before. Which I couldn't understand. I was thinking literally, he might get killed. I was thinking that he might get into a gunfight. He might get killed. Why is he not terrified? Because look, at that point, I'd already been a bouncer for a few years. I was fearless when it came to fighting people. But part of the reason why I wanted to be a cop, especially in Mexico, is I was afraid of like getting into a gunfight. When I visualized getting into a gunfight, I would feel scared, and I wanted to get rid of that feeling. Just like I had that feeling before I did martial arts, that feeling of nervousness, scared. I wanted to get over that. I wanted to take it to the next level. This is why I wanted to be a cop in Mexico, and I wanted to join with him because, you know, I had the connection. He was going to get me in without me even having to do the academy. Imagine that, guys. So we're walking outside, and we sit exactly where I was sitting. So I try to sit in a strategic point where I can see everything. He tells me, no, sit over there. So he made me sit on the corner side. And then he had a newspaper with him, which he never had a newspaper with him. The newspaper was pretty to put his gun in between it. He shot it with the newspaper, and he put it on the side right there. So he had the gun here in between the newspaper, and he had a toothpick in his mouth. And he just kept looking left and right. It was a one-way street. Kept looking left and right, left and right. Well, just talking to him. He's like, so what's up? How was it in LA? You know, what do you want to do now? And I'm like, Coach, I heard that what happened with the PD? Like, did I know those guys? And he's like, yeah, you probably knew a few of them because I used to teach in the academy, you know. Didn't know him by name though. But I told him like what happened, and he's like, I thought they were the same agency as some state undercover police agents, because that's what the manager of my building told me. But then he told me, no, they were 911 responders. But he said it with a smirk. They were 911 responders. I was like, whoa. Okay? Like, I was just impressed by how damn chill he was. Because I already knew a few of the other martial arts instructors that were in the police had already quit. As soon as El Chapo started threatening the whole entire police department, many people quit. He stayed. And, he's like, yeah, yeah. He's like, it's hot right now. It's really hot right now. Smirky looking around everywhere. He kept, like, sort of touching the newspaper, keeping his hand, like, ready to, like, blast, Every time a car passed by, I could see him looking. And then he told me, yeah, it's hot right now, this, that, da, 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 da. And he's like, so what's up? You ready to start teaching and competing maybe? And I was like, Coach, to be honest, I don't want to teach. I don't want to compete. I want to be a cop like you. He's like, you want to be a judicial? You want to be here with me? And I'm like, yeah. It's like, oh, you're fucking crazy, Arturo. You're crazy. He's telling me I'm crazy when I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking, you're nuts. I'm crazy. You're nuts, And then he's like, you're crazy, you're crazy. You know, Arturo, you can always be a cop later. You're not always going to be able to be a competitor. Okay? Teaching, you may not become rich teaching, but you're also not going to die of hunger. You can always be a cop later. But look, if that's what you want, fine. I will talk to my compadre, and we'll see about trying to get you in without having to do any academy. I was like, yes! Yes! And inside, of course, And then I started telling him how I bounced in Leonardo's Laboom and how I had actually had some experience now arresting people and getting into many fights. And then we started talking about the police. He started talking about how the police in the States is much better than the police in Mexico. Then he explained to me that when you're a cop in Mexico, and if you're holding someone at gunpoint as a police officer, and they have a gun too, you cannot shoot until the guy shoots at you. So even if the guy points at you legally as a police officer, you cannot shoot back until one shot is fired from that end. It's not like in the States where if you even point at the cop, they can shoot, they can blast. And then he brought up a video of a SWAT team member who shot some guy in the head. When he told me this, guys, I got the chills for some reason, because the way he said it and how chill he was, I just got some kind of weird feeling in my gut that was similar to the feeling I had inside with his compadre. Ironically, and this is a spoiler, guys, this is how he was killed. He took a gunshot to the head. And he's sitting here talking about this, all chill, with a smirk, enjoying the adrenaline of the whole situation. And the only thing I could think of is like, I want that. How does he do that? I want to have that. I want to be like him. The only way I could think I could get to be like him is to do what he was doing, which was to join the police force. And anyhow, I started kicking it with him. We went to a TV thing together, Taekwondo TV thing. I did some demonstrations there for Televisa. I did my 540, my 720, my Van Damme kick, all that stuff. I trained with him quite a few times, and we didn't get to do any teaching because he had just recently quit the instructor position at the police academy because there was a change in government. So, like I was saying, part of his job was to take the chief of police's daughters to school. He would do this every morning. Now, I was in the process of getting into the police. I was also not talking to my father at the time. We had a big fight, so I had no contact with him at the time. And then on May 24th, 2006, at around 8 p.m., I took my last lesson with him. Ironically, it was actually a kata lesson, a pumse lesson. So I really, it was weird because he would never really do these lessons. And that day it was this lesson. Nevertheless, I trained hard. I was full of sweat. And at the end of the class, there was another black belt there who was also a cop who just showed up at the end of class. And him and my coach and me were talking for a little while, but I decided to leave early because I wanted to sleep and train the next day again. I just got over a cold. So at that point, I left, but I heard later from this kid that my coach didn't want to leave. He stayed talking with him there until like 1, 2 a.m. It's almost like my coach had a feeling and stuff. Another thing my coach did is he called his son's mom, his ex-wife, to congratulate her on her birthday. Her birthday was the day that my coach got killed, the 25th. He called her the day before, that same day, to congratulate her for her birthday, a day before he got killed. She was tripping like, hey, it's not really my birthday yet. I was like, I know, but I just wanted to congratulate you ahead of time. Tell me this is not weird, guys. I don't know if he knew that this would happen, or if he had a gut feeling that this would happen, or if he knew that day that something would go down. I have no idea. All I know is that they were all threatened. especially his compadre. He was threatened. So this was the last day I hung out with him. As you guys could guess, the next morning is the day that it happened. So, you know, he must have left the dojo that night at 2 a.m. And he had to, the next day he was off. He was not even supposed to be working. That is another effed up thing, guys. He was not supposed to be working this day. This day was his day off. But his compadre called him and told him, hey, you know, you want to come with me, drop off the girls to school, and then we're going to go eat something. And he had some plan of doing a few things with him that had nothing to do with police work. So my coach agreed, and they came and picked him up, guys. Yeah. So then they went and dropped the kids off at school. The school is in La Garita. It's a one-way street. After you drop the kids off at school, you can only go in one street down. That street where it ends is the same place where El Chapo's people got into that gunfight with the police officers and where one killed El Chapo's nephew. Same spot. They were headed to that same spot. In that same spot, the Sicarios were already waiting on them. My coach was driving in the front in one vehicle with two to three agents. I'm not even sure. It's not, you know, it's hard to confirm. Articles say different things. The back car was with the chief of police, was sitting with more agents. They were going down like that. And the end, there was one street here and one street here. Like there was the corners of the street. This is a street. This is like the corners of the buildings. So there was one guy in the back here, one guy on this side. A car closed him in. My coach was the first one to be killed. He was shot in the head instantly. I know that he was talking to a coach from another state, another Taekwondo master. At the moment that they got ambushed, he was on the phone talking to him. So what happened in the car, I still have some theories about it. And I will make a video on that. When that video is done, it will be linked here. Because after I bounced in Baby-O and everything else, I came to find out a lot more about what actually happened that day. And it's really effed up, but I'm not going to get into that in this video because I don't want to burst in tears in this video right now, guys. I will do that video when I have my head straight and focus just on that, on what happened in the car. So anyways, they're going down like that. They get ambushed. Gunfight happens that lasted around 5 minutes. No one else gets hit out of the officers. One has a bullet scratch in his head. And this guy is El Coreano, who later funded his own cartel, Cartel Independiente de Acapulco. El Coreano, he was later caught by the feds. Palomino, head of the federal police force, did a statement on this. That same Palomino guy that did a statement on this guy getting arrested, he got himself arrested for corruption, him and his boss. That's Mexico for you guys right there, guys. And basically, the Korean only had a scratch, came out in the newspaper, but only my coach was shot in the head. But think about this, guys, okay? He's driving, right? He's driving. The gunshots are coming from here. How does he have a bullet wound back here? In the back of his head. There was nobody behind him that could have shot him out of the other guys, right? So what happened there? I'm not sure, but he got hit back here. And the second shot was in his right arm. So I don't know if he tried to evade some bullets or something, but it was like all of his skin right here was like torn off. Like you could see his tendons and muscles and blood. And he ended up laying down sideways like that with the phone still open on the ground because he was calling with an instructor from a different state. So he was the only one murdered at that moment there, shot. They even made a narco corrido about this called La Garita de la Muerte. La Garita of Death. That's the name of this neighborhood. That's the nickname it got later, La Garita of Death, because all these shootouts with police and narcos would happen there. Anyways, this is the story how it happened. This is how it was in the newspaper. Basically, the guy that did the one got away. Those guys got away, and a manhunt happened to go catch them, of course. And then I didn't even know about this until later, guys. It was all over the news, and like I'm waking up at 11:12. I see a several missed calls from one of my training partners that went to fight MMA with me. He was his second best student. Also his best student, but I was just his favorite. Not to go like this, but this is just the truth. He was a heavyweight fighter. He also won the MMA fights that we did. He called me and he's like, hey, Arturo, have you heard yet? I'm like, no, what? It's like, ¿ya oíste? No, ¿qué? Mataron al profe Lara. It's like, they killed the profe Lara. He just dropped it on me. I didn't even hear it. My vision of it was he was doing a raid and then he got blasted out. Like, I had a different image of what went down at that moment. I had a different image of what went down at that moment.